Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Hale, and coming to you live here from Cleveland, Ohio. And I've been watching on the YouTube here this last couple of weeks about a number of Jehovah's Witnesses, or I should say ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, who are now talking a little bit about their past, about their history, and about some of the things they're doing now to help themselves get over the challenges that they had from being one of Jehovah's Witnesses for so many years and having to struggle with their own identity. So, what I thought I would do is, take a few minutes myself and kind of talk a little bit about my background and maybe start my own web series and talk a little bit about my history as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, where I am today, and how I've been able to successfully move beyond my experiences, mostly negative. Now, before I get started, I really don't want this to be a negative conversation. I'm really not looking to downplay the Jehovah's Witnesses necessarily as a group. They are a group of good people. They're well-meaning, however, seriously misdirected. And truly, I was one of those seriously misdirected individuals until about 2 years ago. In my efforts to continue to try to conform and try to fit in, I realized it was like forcing a round peg into a square hole. It just makes absolutely no sense. Try to force yourself to be something that you're not. So, with that being said, I want to kind of give you a brief background of myself, who I am, what I'm trying to do today, and then we'll look at continuing this web series and kind of talking about some of the things that my daily struggles, where I am today, and some of the funny, humorous experiences I've had being a part of this organization. So first of all, as I said before, my name is Chris Hale, and I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. My mom and dad are currently witnesses. I'm the oldest of 4. I have a younger sister and 2 younger sisters and a younger brother. None of them are serving Jehovah at this time, and they all seem to be quite happy. I was the last one to make the change. So going back in history a little bit, my mother, I believe she got baptized around 1965 or 66. And shortly after that, I was born with the promise that, hey, if you start serving Jehovah now, your son will never have to die, and you live forever in paradise, yada, 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 the story. So, it was okay. As a kid, we were pretty active in the ministry. We went to Kingdom Hall. We had a lot of good friends. We were active in, some school activities, active in, the ministerial activities. We went to events, we went to the park, we went to concerts, we did all these things as young kids. When I was about 13 or 14, my dad, heavy smoker, heavy drinker, heavy, womanizer, decided that he wanted to keep his family together, so he was going to come into the truth, as you will have it, and serve Jehovah. At which at point in time, my life went totally to hell. Why do I say this? I say this because prior to that time, I had a lot of varied interests, and my mother was real good about encouraging me to excel at art, to excel in history, to excel in collecting rocks, whatever the things I liked to do as a kid. She was pretty much supportive. When my dad came into the truth and saw this as an opportunity for him to be somebody, and so therefore, all the things that I was able to do as a kid before he came into the truth were pretty much, ended. So my time, playing in the music band, playing in the orchestra, playing in the chess club, having so-called worldly activities that I engaged in that really stimulated my mind and allowed me to think and allowed me to have goals and interests, were pretty much killed, because I had to be somewhat an exemplary person in the congregation. And of course, to be exemplary in the congregation meant you can't have any goals. You had to be 100% straight towards the ministry. You had to be focused on meeting attendance and ridiculous amounts of personal study throughout the week, which left you no time for any kind of extracurricular activities that a normal 12 or 13, 14-year-old kid wants to do. For example, my dream when I was 12 or 13 was to be an archaeologist, to be a geologist, to be a guy that, crisscrossed the world searching for artifacts. And, I would spend my allowance buying things like metal detectors and chemistry sets, and to some extent, my dad would stimulate those things. Before he came to the truth, he was all about it. He was helping me with my little electronics projects. He would help me with all kinds of school projects. But then after he became in the truth, his main focus was to drag us out into the ministry on Saturdays, make us do all this personal study throughout the week, these family study periods which were ridiculously long. Sometimes it went 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. And of course, he pulled us out of all of our extracurricular activities. I was removed from the band practice, orchestra, Dixieland band. I couldn't play the drums. I couldn't play my clarinet. I couldn't do any of those activities that I was doing, trying to fit in as a 13 or 14-year-old. So I became it became a very big negative to me, because as the oldest son, the way Jehovah's Witnesses organization works is that if you can't serve in any sort of responsible capacity if your family is not in check, meaning that they're not doing all the things they're supposed to be doing, and you're, what's the word I'm thinking of? You have to be irrehensible, I believe is the word, as a ministerial servant or an elder, in order for you to keep and serve, have those capacities. So in order for him to do what he needed to do, everybody in the congregation needed to look up to him. So long story short, at the end of the day, when my dad became a witness, my life went to hell. So did all the rest of the kids, because it became a hierarchy whereby it was his way or no other way. And so all of our dreams were pretty much crushed at that point. So I like to call my father the daddy dream killer. And I think I blogged a little bit about the daddy dream killer, how his ineffective leadership in the family caused all of the children to not stick with the organization. The harshness that was unleashed on our family as a means to put kids that were in control, good kids, we were all good kids, we all had good grades in high school, in elementary school, middle school, we didn't fight, we didn't curse, we didn't drink, we didn't do drugs, we didn't do any of those kind of things, but the harshness in which we were treated in order to make us try to conform to something that we just didn't really want to do, to take away our individuality, really led my brothers and sisters down some really, really hard paths. Now, that's not saying that I didn't have my hard path too. It came later, because I was a conformist up until my middle 30s. I conformed. I was unhappy. I married this beautiful woman who, by all accounts, oh, she's perfect, she's a pioneer, you're a pioneer. Even though I didn't want to be a pioneer, I had no other options. My dad said, hey, listen, as long as you want to, you can do what you want, as long as you pioneer. But if you don't want to pioneer, you want to do something else, you have to leave my house. Okay, how's an 18-year-old given those choices? You either leave the house or you can stay here and pioneer and you don't have to pay rent. And it's like, okay, I want to go to college and do something, but totally and completely unacceptable. So I was forced to pioneer, forced to spend 90 hours a month in the ministry with people that I didn't really like anyway. To be honest with you, I couldn't stand walking door to door talking to people and knocking on their door saying, hey, do you want to read, you want to watch, you want to listen? They didn't care about me and I didn't really care about them. So long story short is, where I am today in my life is trying to play catch up. I spent a tremendous amount of time trying to play according to their rules when I really didn't want to play according to their rules. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, which was go to college, have a career, travel around, make some friends, have girls, normal things. So where I am today is I am really trying to find my own place, my own way, starting a business, trying to go back to school and finish out some things I didn't finish, and just enjoy the life and not feel like I've wasted so many of my years being a part of a religion that I just really was not a fit for. So currently I'm what they call a disfellowshipped, and I'm happy for it, because I went back 2 times after being disfellowshipped and tried to make myself fit in, and it just wasn't working. Because traditionally, if you've been a disfellowshipped person, you have so many rules and so many barriers and so many things you have to jump across in order to prove to people in an organization that you're clean. I mean, reality is I'm not a murderer, I'm not a drug addict, I'm not an overdrinker, I don't steal, I go to work every day, I have a career, I make decent money, I take care of my kids. I've always paid child support, but because I don't want to do exactly what they want me to do, then I'm an unclean person, not fit for socialization. So, on the 3rd time around, I said, hey, wait a minute, do I really want to keep doing this? This is ridiculous. And I have to go back and talk to these elders and these people and tell them all these things I'm doing and not doing and why I'm doing it, and in order to be back in their good graces and have all these privileges of association with people that are judging me anyway because of who I am and what has happened in my past. So I began to realize that the world is not judgmental like we are as Jehovah's Witnesses. We just really do a great job of making the world of people around us, if they don't believe the way we believe, if they don't walk the way we walk, dress the way we walk, as being unfit for our association. And what I discovered was I've made a lot of friends when I lived in Atlanta, when I lived in Charlotte, now I'm in Cleveland, and I'm headed somewhere else here shortly. I've made a lot of friends that don't judge me because of my weird religious beliefs. Now, that being said, I would not claim my religious beliefs from Jehovah's Witnesses as my own anymore. I do believe that God's name is Jehovah, absolutely. I do believe that there's a higher being, but I don't believe that he cares for mankind as much as we think he does, or at least the way I was taught. So I'm coming to grips with some new realities there. So at the end of the day, you know, I don't have any of my old friends anymore. My friends from Georgia, my friends from Columbus I grew up with. I miss those guys. They're great people, but I don't care. Because I have a few new good friends now. They don't judge me. And, you know, I've learned how to make new friends. I've learned how to move on in my life. And since I've left or been involuntarily kicked out, the creativity in my mind has just exploded because I don't have this fear. I'm not driven by fear. Fear is just, it's like a closed fist. You can't get away from it. You can't move forward. You can't move backwards. You can't see clearly. And I can't tell you how many of my friends who were parts of other religious organizations, they're like, dude, you are so freaking clogged up. You're so closed off. You're so judgmental. You're so anal about your religion. You cannot see any other side. And so since I've left, since I've been not a part of that, it's been great because I've been able to see here, over there, and I've been able to see over there, and I've been able to see up there, and I've been able to see a lot of different perspectives that my narrow mind would not allow me to see before. Tell you something that's quite interesting is there's a guy that comes on TV on Sunday. His name is Joel Olsteen, and you know, I was sitting there on the bed one day watching it with my girlfriend, and this guy was so incredibly positive. I was like, wait a minute, what is that? Why is he speaking so positively? I have never in my life, in all my time going to the Kingdom Hall, heard anyone from this platform speak so positively about what you can do, who you are, where you should be, what the universe can help you do, and to, you know, talk about moving negativity out of your life. And there was no fear mongering. That was the most bizarre part. There's no fear mongering. If you don't do these things, you're gonna die at Armageddon. If you don't do these things, then you're gonna get this fellowship. There's so much fear, and fear just absolutely makes you stuck in the mud. And you may want to do great things, but you can't because of fear. If I go to school and get an education, I might, you know, I might get this fellowship or get this associated. People want to talk to me, or maybe my long-held beliefs that are based on my own study and my own intelligence will be swayed simply because I went to university and got an education. That's all BS. It's all a control mechanism. So, for my friends out there who are still Jehovah's Witnesses, get over the fear, dude. You know, learn to see and think for yourself. My mom can't do it. My dad can't do it. But amazingly, my brothers and sisters have done it. And so what I'm doing here is speaking through the angst that I still have. And I'm trying to get beyond that. And I want to help other people to realize that there's nothing wrong with digging and learning for yourself and picking up a book and reading some history. Learn the history of the organization you're a part of. Pick up a secular book. Just because you read a book that's written by the Catholics does not mean that tomorrow you're going to believe in the Trinity. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means you now have another line of thought. That's the key. Have an original thought. Have another line of thought. Don't pick up the Watchtower magazine. Don't pick up the Awake. Don't pick up the Revelation book. Do your own research. Have an original thought. Think as the Bible says that the ancient Bereans didn't take anyone's word for anything, but they researched everything to find out whether it was so. So then why would you take the Watchtower or the Wake magazine as your sole resource for anything? I can tell you what, here's why Jehovah's Witnesses are afraid of the whole university college paradigm. It's because college and universities teach you to think critically. That's the key. Colleges and universities teach you to think critically. I challenge you to ask any one of Jehovah's Witnesses who come to their door what the origin is of the Trinity. And I can almost tell you what they'll say. But they are not able to tell you what the background is on why the Trinity is what the Trinity is. They will all cite what comes out of the Watchtower and Awake magazines. That's simply not good enough. So, again, before I end all this, I just want you all to just remember to think for yourselves, do a little bit of independent research, come to your own conclusions. And as we move forward, I'm going to start with my young days and move forward. I'm going to talk about some of the comedic, some of the humorous experiences I had as a Jehovah's Witness and how they shaped my life and who I am today. And I hope you'll laugh and get plenty of good jokes out of it, and we'll just kind of see where this goes. So again, this is Chris Hale. I'm signing off, and I hope you all have a wonderful and prosperous Sunday.